This is TWiT.
Don't miss All About Android every week. We talk about the latest news, hardware, apps, and now all the developer-y goodness happening in the Android ecosystem. I'm Jason Howell, also joined by Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and our newest co-host on the panel, Wen Tu Dao, who brings her developer chops. Really great stuff. We also invite people from all over the Android ecosystem to talk about this mobile platform we love so much. Join us every Tuesday, All About Android on twit.tv.
Now, let me ask you, all three of you, are you Twitter refugees or is it Twitter plus Mastodon? Glenn, you're on both, right?
Twitter, yeah, Twitter plus, but holy cow, things picked up so quickly. I think I'm going to be Twitter minus soon. I mean, I don't plan to leave. Twitter's been very useful and for me in a lot of ways. Professionally, I made a lot of friends there in the olden days, the sort of pre-2015 days. But a lot of the people who I spend the most time reading and talking with have already moved to Mastodon and they're active over there. And I'm like, well, maybe the parties moved to Elephant's house. Maybe that's where we'll wind up converging.
Jeff, you're both, right?
Oh, I'm definitely both, but I'm finding I'm spending more time on Mastodon. I wrote a post about it, which I presume we might get to, and I made a point on Twitter of saying you taught me everything I know about Mastodon. My expertise of 5 days is all from you.
I thought Regis Philbin everything he knows about Twitter, and so it just comes around. And Ant, you're doing both or no?
I'm sort of in limbo right now with Twitter. I haven't been on in about a day and a half.
Yeah.
I saw that Nazi looking thing and it sort of rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah. Coming from the leadership. And I don't know, my community's there.
That's the hard thing, isn't it? Leaving them behind.
I've grown my brand through Twitter and LinkedIn, and I've enjoyed my community there. But at the same time, some of the stuff that I saw from the leadership that it rubbed me the wrong way. So my account is still there. But I can't say that I've actively checked anything in the last day and a half.
It's really interesting. We have had, and my lower third has said my Mastodon handle for 3 years, Twit Social, which probably a lot of people look at it and go, what's twit.social/@Leo? What is that? And no idea what that is.
I know now.
Well, that's what's interesting. Now you're seeing every BBC, Time Magazine interviewed the creator. Mastodon's all over the place as if... And this is where I think there's a little bit of a mistake that you're going to take Twitter, just like you did with MySpace and replaced it with Facebook. You're going to take Twitter and just replace it with Mastodon. And I think a lot of Twitter users will be very disappointed when they get to Mastodon. It's been for the last 3 years, it's been very quiet in Mastodon. It's been a very cozy little corner of the world. It's been like a cafe where no one really goes, but the people who are sitting there know each other. They love it. They love the quietness of it. And it has changed 100% over the last 5 days because more than, I think it's now 2 million people have exited Twitter and gone, or at least created a Mastodon account. And I don't know how many have exited Twitter. I exited Twitter. I've exited it before, but I was had it up to here. Well, you know, when I got 3 jokes about masturbating in a row over my morning coffee from Mr. Musk, the owner, I said, you know, this is not the place I want to be.
Well, Nazi stuff even worse.
Yeah. I had every advertiser.
Yesterday.
Yeah, all the advertisers are gone. And he says, oh, yeah, this is activists. Or no, Elon, it doesn't quite work that way. But anyway.
So, Leo, yesterday I had in class Meredith Clark, who's one of the leading experts in Black Twitter. She has a book coming out next year about it, Oxford University Press. She's brilliant. And I asked the question, I said, is there going to be a Black Mastodon? And what she said, I hope she won't mind me repeating this, I don't think she will. She said it doesn't offer all the affordances that were necessary to create Black Twitter. The ability to have a place where you could get to anybody, and she would say it better than I could. And I saw Mary Rembrandt Olm, who's an amazing academic, medieval academic. I forget her Twitter handle. She tweeted about this and said, you know, I have an account over there. I got the go bag, but you know, what I'm seeing is a white exodus, and you know, you gonna leave us alone here? And I remember Andre Brock Jr., who wrote Distributed Blackness, who I've quoted often on the show. I haven't talked to him about this in the last few weeks, but you know, he said when Musk started circling this wagon, he said, you're going to have to really kick us off here because we built something here. So I think that there's a lot of communities like that are going to be very reluctant to have to pick up and move somewhere else and are going to fight for where they are. So I don't want to leave Twitter because I want to be there for that. I don't want to be there around that. And Twitter is the weaker for not having Mastodon is much the weaker for not having a black Mastodon.
Well, that's Mastodon has plenty of black users. There is a black Mastodon. What you're hearing and what you're going to hear over and over, what you're going to hear over and over again is Twitter apologists on Twitter saying, oh, yeah, that Mastodon is BS. That's no good. You don't want that. There's nothing good there. Meanwhile, there are plenty of people of color on Mastodon. There is plenty of quote, black Mastodon. But it's Twitter people who are justifying staying on Twitter. That's fine. You can stay in the burning house. Everything is fine. No problem.
That's the thing.
And I think communities of interest form. Already there's a Mastodon for journalists, of all people.
Let's talk about that. So Adam Davidson, ex-NPR, New York Times, New Yorker, who's now up in Vermont, he said to me, well, gee, maybe we should start a server. And I kind of said, you go on stage. And Adam did it all on his own and started Journa.host, JOURNA.host. And I just agreed to use some money from the center I run to give him 6 months headway here, and he has a small tech team helping him already. He needs tech help. If anybody else wants to help him, they're all volunteer because it's verifying the journalists who were there, which is a very tricky question.
No, and again, that is a Twitter mindset that is wrong because that's not how verification works on Mastodon. So again, that's utter BS. That's a centralized blue check.
You're doing the
listen to me.
Mastodon.
Let me show you how you verify yourself on Mastodon.
Leo, I'm telling you something different now. Listen, I know how, yes, you were
waiting for a centralized blue check is.
No, wait. Give me a second here. Dan Hahn put up a great post a week ago saying that what he hoped would happen is that the Washington Post would create its own server.
Again,
and
huge mistake.
I know there's the other method to do it, but we need institutions. If 230 goes down, we need institutions to stand behind these servers. I'm sure it worries you. There's a liability here. And we need places that have lawyers to worry about some of the stuff that's
I think a lot of that stuff goes away when you decentralize. I think it's easy to shut down Twitter. It is virtually impossible to shut down the Fediverse.
But it's not impossible to come sue you and make your life miserable.
So I move it offshore.
With takedowns and, well, maybe. So go ahead and show people how to
I can move it offshore. So the first thing I'm going to show you is, you probably already know this, but you go to your, I'm using the advanced Mastodon interface, so this might look a little different from yours. You can turn that on.
Mine is so much nicer with light mode, by the way.
You can make it light if you want. Hashtag black. I'm going to hit return. And this is going to give me some hashtags with the word black, including black Mastodon. I click on it. Now I have a column that has of posts with black Mastodon. That's going to be your starting point. I'm going to pin that. And I'm going to move that over so it's a little higher.
It's better in your view.
Up here. And now I have this column. This is much like TweetDeck of black Mastodon, so I'll hide that interface. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say you're going to keep this forever, but what you're going to do is you're going to see who's posting here. You're going to see what some of the other tags are. And let's see. Oh, Pursue Black Joy. I like that. I'm going to follow him. It's not going to take you long. In fact, it's going to take you less time here than it would have taken you on Twitter.
I'm not saying, Leo, there aren't black people on Mastodon. I'm saying that there was a culture that was built up on Twitter that is not easily transported, and I don't think we should dismiss it just because it came on Twitter.
I don't see why it's not easily transported, but I'm not going to speak to that. I think that the Journa.host actually transported them over, but I think they also are still thinking in that it's unfortunate because Twitter brain is a little bit of a messed up mind. So if you go to your Jeff Jarvis here, right? This is your profile.
Which I didn't put the stuff on my.
You haven't verified these. So what you need to do is verify these. You self-verify by adding a web standard rel.me tag.
Rel.me.
To your Buzz Machine blog, to your Medium post. This is easy to do. You can even do it on Twitter. You certainly can do it at CUNY. You will then convert these into verified. Let me show you my profile so you can see what it looks like once it's verified. So this is my blog, so it's green check. So what this tells you is that I control this blog enough to add this account to it. self-verification, and it's actually a better system than the Twitter blue check.
Yeah, but I think community verification, I would love community verification because Mastodon is all about the instances, right? It's all about the servers that form the federation. And at some level, you can ignore that. If your interest is in having a global presence, you don't actually need to worry about the instance, except that
you get both. I mean, the instance is great. You should sign up for an instance that if there were a Flong instance, I would say you go there.
Yeah, although we can get into this. There's an issue with you can only have one identity that people can follow. They
Not
can follow
true.
if you want to have many identities, they have to follow each of them from each instance.
Well, you decide
there's no federated identity.
Right, you decide what you want, but you could have 4 identities with the 4 different persona.
But then at a global level, I have to pick one of those. So I'm actually at twit.social. Thank you for running it. I signed up in April because I was like, hey, Leo's on this. Let's see what it's about. So that's where I'm at now. But if I want to be on 4 instances, I mean, I think it gets into like, how much is this like Discord or Slack versus Twitter or Facebook?
It's more like groups. I would say it's more like Discord in that regard.
Except it's one, right? Each instance,
but there's
is
federation.
Like a channel,
right?
Each instance is like a channel. So at some point, I won't be surprised if someone creates a concept of federated IDs. So you register on one instance, and you can link these to IDs you have in other instances, and then the instances
in a way you
could
could
become like channels.
You could do that with the verification as well. You could have in any profile verified extra profiles,
right? But I think it's the idea is like this is part of the evolution is how much is this its own beast, which it is right now, that resembles in some way other microblogging services like Twitter. But the verification thing, this is where I want to support Jeff on this, because I think it's one thing if you said, oh, we're going to have a central authority run at mastodon.social that is going to verify people. I don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that. But and I love self-verification because I'm used to that from keybase.io, for instance.
Right.
They've been doing
you could have your Keybase
for years.
Yeah, I'm using Keyoxide, which is a successor to Keybase, but the same idea.
Is great. But I think there's a place, because it's federated, for having a federated authority where you choose what authority you accept. And if somebody wants to figure out, I know a lot of reporters, and this happened to me too. When I was verified, there's no value to me for being verified except when I DM somebody, they're like, aha, there's a mark of approval that means that somebody took a look at this guy. So if I were verified on, if I had let's say I register at journo.host and I get verified by them on that one instance in some particular way, if I reach out to a source, they have a way of saying this group, and I can choose whether to accept their authority or not, has done some outside work. It's kind of like an SSL or TLS certificate. If you go someplace and there's a green check mark or whatever the symbol is on your browser that shows that a site is secure and it's got a certain level of validation, you're making the assumption that some outside party has done this closed loop, but it's totally distributed. There's all these certificate authorities. There's millions and millions, billions of websites. There's no centralized authority that says, hey, we're the only people who can validate a website. By the same token, I want every instance to have its ability to validate users if they choose, and different standards, because that's a federation.
That. You have industry organizations. You could say, MCSE or
right. And I'm talking to one of some of those organizations right now to take over what Adam's doing. We just get him going, and then I'm going to make up an organization, the American Journalism Union.
And how would you show? How would you show that?
I mean, it could be a link on the website.
The name of this instance. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
But I mean, how would I verify, Jeff, that you are a member of the?
That there's someone there. Well, there's someone there who's going to verify. Adam's doing that right now. Adam's saying that,
I don't see how that in any
you've got to
way
show us 3 articles.
I don't. Yeah, that's so stupid. All you have to do is link to Buzz Machine, and then you have verified that this is
you. But who the hell knows what Buzz Machine is? Yeah, this is an organization that says these are journalists, as opposed to
if you were a real
pig
journalist.
Slime people. Pig Slime. Hey, you can come in and be Pig Slime. You can create the Denver Guardian. See 2016, and you can say, look, I've got a publication, I'm a journalist, and I verified linking to the Denver Guardian. That's worthless. It's worse than worthless. It brings down the credibility of everything.
No.
So Adam comes along,
tell me how you tell Adam that you're a journalist. You give him 3 tear sheets, right? This is how you would tell Mastodon. You would link back to those 3 things and then have those 3 things verify you are who you say you are.
That's
far superior than you sending Adam 3 tear sheets, and then Adam does something that somebody else has to trust Adam to trust you. You're nuts. You guys have centralized brain, and I'm just gonna say this. Let it go, because
it's not centralized though. I believe in the
you
power
want an
of
industry standard. You want
no. I want every instance to be able to set its own terms for this, and so I don't.
Well, nobody's
I don't
going to
think
stop
every
that.
journalist.
You could do that, but just because somebody's on you're on Journa host doesn't tell me that you're an official journalist.
You can judge it as you wish. That's you wish. That's the point of federation. You can ignore it.
Well,
you can hate it,
it's
as some people do.
There is a real verification system that's not. If you guys want to do that, no, I certainly think it's fine. I think you're mistaken in thinking that the system that exists isn't more than adequate. It really is.
Oh, I 100% disagree with you. The system that exists is a technical thing. It only works for a subset of people who have access to the head tags on their page and have the technical ability to deal with it.
You don't belong to that place then if you can't have a rel.me there.
No, I don't think
then that's exclusionary.
That leaves out so many people. It's 99.9% of people.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll say this.
That's you being too geeky, Leo. That's you insisting on a geek hierarchy.
Well, you're the one, Jeff,
let's say she has queenpruitt.com, but I can guarantee you she has no idea how to put in the rel tag.
Right.
Well, I'll show you because it's actually pretty easy. They even tell you when you want to verify a Mastodon, you click a link
for you
and they say, no, wait a minute. They click a link and they say, see this, copy this, paste it into your website. You're done.
Yeah, but you have to have access to the head tags too.
Everybody doesn't have that. It could be anywhere.
I saw somebody who tried 5 times. People are confused. Yeah. You're doing geek snobbery here.
Yeah, domains
and now it is August, September.
Welcome to the modern world. That's all, Let me ask you, Ant, do you feel like there is a culture on Mastodon that's welcoming to people of color?
Yeah, definitely do. But the bigger story that I'm seeing with this is it reminds me of all of the family and friends, quote unquote friends, that are on the Facebook platform. Because there are some good people on that Facebook platform that can't quite seem to leave that and go to Twitter because it just there's a disconnect between Twitter and Facebook as far as they're concerned. They just don't quite get it. And so when I say the same thing to the folks that are on Twitter, my community on Twitter about Mastodon and finding an instance or joining twit.social, everybody's eyes just sort of glaze over like, what? It just doesn't click.
The thing is, signing up at a Mastodon server is exactly like signing up at Twitter. The thing that's hard for people to get is that there isn't one Mastodon.
It's not just
instance.
One, right?
And there is one Twitter. And what I'm saying is, people have this centralized notion that everything has to be centralized is part of the problem.
Yeah,
and because Twitter was centralized, now this guy Elon Musk gets to decide. Look what Twitter did with checks this morning. Marquez Brownlee tweets, "Oh, great! There are now 2 verified checks. One that shows next to your profile, the old blue check, and retweets and everywhere. It means you're a Twitter Blue subscriber. The other one, official, shows up on certain profiles because you're official." To which Elon says, "Oh no, never mind," and cancels it.
Killed it.
Yeah.
He literally was there for an hour because Elon, in his infinite wisdom, said no.
It's great. The machine, there's a great E.M. Forster story that was ahead of its time called The Machine Stops. It's an incredible account of everyone becoming dependent on machines and living underground because the earth becomes too polluted and everyone lives individually and they communicate through wall screens. I mean, it's a story. It was written 120 years ago, 130 years ago. It's ridiculous how much it seemed like the pandemic period, among other things. But I feel like we're in that stage where things start breaking down at Twitter already. I was trying to post images on a tweet today and Twitter split it into 2 messages. One was the tweet and one was the tweet with the images. And people are saying direct messages are becoming public. And we're watching the machine stop.
Yeah, this is an article by a former Twitter engineer. You put this in, Jeff. Let me see if I can find it.
Is this the one
who says
the September one?
It's about to fall apart.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, it is.
This is from MIT's Technology Review. Chris Stokes-Walker.
Great reporter, Chris, by the way. That's my verification. Chris Stokes-Walker, great reporter.
But what Chris could do is go to Mastodon, put a link rel.me in his bio.
On a Wired page? On a Wired page? Right.
Well, what if he's a freelancer who works only once for this publication?
He writes for
Technology. And they don't really want him to do that.
So you think it's better that he then goes to, who's this guy?
a trade. But I think, but Jeff's point is, look, I'm going to argue this point with you, Jeff, because it's we're going to do a tag team wrestling thing. I don't think Ant's going to. Ant, are you going to tag in with Leo? But it's I believe in the power of independent trade organizations that help people develop credibility apart from what they work for, or if they work for somebody. As a freelancer, it's very hard to develop credibility, and Chris is a fellow freelancer. So, if I want to prove I'm a journalist and I write for 15 different publications, I want a centralized but not centrally owned organization. I want a American Journalists Association of America or whomever to have the ability to say Glenn is in our directory. And if that shows up as a Mastodon style verification,
that's how you would do it. That's how they would do it. Yeah.
If instances develop a different mechanism that is a different kind of thing, and it only offers a badge for people on that instance, and other instances may not even show it, I think that's okay too, because it's federated.
I am, and I understand it's complicated for people, but I am a big fan of indie web, open web, and micro formats. And this is a micro formats thing. It's been around for at least a decade, maybe two, the rel.me tag. And honestly, this is the way to do it so that no company, no capitalist, nobody can control it. It is grassroots, and yet it's well thought out to provide rock solid verification. Now,
when I register,
you have a server, if you have a site,
when I register, if I register,
your journalist organization, your association of independent freelance journalists could do it too. You could say member IFGBC33, and then it would have a green check because they, in their directory, put rel.me next to your name.
All right. We have a meeting of minds. I think we're good. I promise not to register IamLeoLaporte.com and verify it on Mastodon.
You could, but then somebody who was wondering, is that the Leo Laporte, might go to TWiT and say, oh, no, he isn't the real Leo Laporte. Or go to the Association of Independent Podcasters or whatever. Fakatka. See, part of my reason I don't buy this is because podcasters have been trying to do this forever. There's like 15 different lame organizations for podcasters.
Let me be very clear.
They have a new Hall of Fame awards every 3 years. There's a new one.
Different hall.
Different hall.
I hate certification of journalists. I'm early on. I'm the guy who said anybody can commit an act of journalism. I don't want official certification of journalism. So that's why
then you certify yourself on
Mastodon.
I
don't want bloggers to have
certificates.
I'm fine with that. But there are a lot of people who don't do what I do and don't have the abilities that I have. And I have my own blog, and I have a university, and I have these other things I can do. There's a lot of people who don't have those things.
Don't sleep on
if you have okay, I agree. If you have no digital presence, then it's hard to use rel.me. If you have you don't exist in the digital world, then you can't use rel.me.
Well, if you don't control your digital presence, which is what
you don't control digital presence.
Well, I would submit that you should find a way to control your digital presence. You can do it. But by the way, you can rel.me.
This may be a way to do it.
You can rel.me to your Twitter, by the way. A lot of people do that.
I know. But that still doesn't tell. If somebody wants to say, so we teach media literacy, and I also think that's BS, but we'll stay with it for a second. Media literacy is know the source you're talking to. Who is it you're talking to? How did you find out who this person knows what they are? Kids or grandpa online, right? Well, they write for the Washington Post. To some people that works, that's fine. Some people that means that they're full of crap. They're on Fox News, same kind of difference, right? You're giving people some basis for their decisions about the credibility when it comes to journalism. Now, again, I don't want to restrict journalism. I don't want to limit it. But what Glenn's been saying is right. If there are various options for people, so you just described it, Leo.
If there are.
If you do the rel.me to this server, then fine. We agree.
There are. But I think it's a mistake to look for some centralized authority.
No, we're not. It's an option. It's one of many options.
Look what Elon just did.
I want decentralized authorties.
Yeah, decentralized is really much better.
Yes, decentralized, exactly.
Okay. Well, that's all. That's all I'm saying.
We agree on that.
I think we're on the same page. But
there are a lot of Twitter brains who say, well, if there's no central authority,
we're not saying that.
Yeah,
we
good.
Are not saying
good.
that.
So let's be very.
Not saying that. This is an option, one of many.
Yeah.
I work for the Washington Post. That's one.
It could be a trade organization. It could be
that's what we're doing.
The Association of Police Authorities.
But they were too slow. And so Adam stepped in and said, I'm going to create this so people get involved
Well, I
in
think
this
that's where I think is a mistake because...
But he's one server, though. He's not going to be for everybody. He's not going to be the journalist.
But you can see he's already having trouble because, unfortunately, journo.horst is being blocked by a lot of Mastodon instances because the people on there, some Mastodon instances have decided are sensationalist or tabloid and have blocked the entire instance.
Which is their loss. They can, it's their right and their loss.
Is it? Or did Adam not understand the culture he was entering and stumbled in and did the wrong thing?
Eugen himself said today, no one should block you. There's no reason to block you. He responded personally.
Doesn't matter. There's no central authority. No,
well,
he's not the central authority. What? This is your Twitter brain.
Well, but he can disagree with you. What I'm saying is, you're not the central authority either.
No.
This is a democracy, Leo.
Yeah, but Eugen does not decide that what Adam did was right. You know who decides? All the Mastodon.
Yes, fine, and they have the right
to.
Don't
federate with him.
And so some people want to come.
What he did broke what he wanted to do. It got the wrong effect. That's all. That's the only way to judge this.
Say some people. But this is like the early days of the net and the longest September. Was it the endless September? Whatever the September was.
All I'm saying is
the net.
You don't have to. It was an unforced error.
Changed.
He didn't have to make this mistake if he had understood the culture he was barging into.